Hello, hello. We are back. I am back. Thank you, camera, for joining me. The topic is non-themed. It's like the first 6 episodes. It's just going to be a variety of experiences or encounters. These comments are the comments I saved when I was doing themed episodes. But I was like, this is a good comment. So some of these are like a year old I need to get to. So randomness, that's going to be the topic, I guess. We'll see how it turns out. Maybe it will be themed, I guess. Katie J. Cruz. This wasn't a phone call, but still hella creepy. I was home alone one afternoon as my husband was at work and my kids were at school. I was putting my hair up into a ponytail in the bathroom when I saw some movement behind me. I looked into the mirror to see what it was, and I saw my husband walk from the kids' room through the hall, look directly at me in the mirror, and just kept walking out to the living room. I called out to him and got no response. I called out to him again, to no avail. I was annoyed because I didn't know what the F his problem was. So I finished doing my hair and walked out into the living room. He wasn't home, so I checked the rest of the house, and he was not there. Door still locked. He arrived home maybe 30 minutes later, completely clueless as to what just happened. Oh, that's awesome. Alright, let's see what's next. App, just 7 app. My brother passed away and I saw him in a dream, when really it was a nightmare. I was climbing into a trash can to hide, and I glanced out of the window and saw my brother in his truck looking at me, glowing with radiant light, healthy as could be made by angelic standard. And he was chuckling at me, with me, about my silly dream, and then I stopped feeling afraid, and I laughed with him. I woke up and felt so happy to see him well, and in glory on the other side. That really would be like a great closure for people, I think. Wouldn't make death so worrisome for people. But at the same time, it doesn't make life as special if it doesn't mean nothing when we die. Wendy White, 2642. I'm going to add this story. My ex-sister-in-law was in an induced coma for a month. She said it was horrifying, and she could not understand why she couldn't communicate. She said the only thing that left her sane was the fact that one cleaning lady came into the room every single day to clean her room and talk to her. When she came out of that coma, she sought out that lady and wrapped her arms around her neck and hugged her and thanked her for helping her keep her sanity. The moral of the story is, number 1, don't let yourself be put in an induced coma. At least that's my message to me. Number 2, if you're around someone who is, talk to them. It reminds me a lot like, actually kind of like sleep paralysis. The whole, you have no control. I don't know what's worse. You get in sleep paralysis, you get this hat man dude, and sometimes it like sits on your chest or whatever. It feels like you can't breathe. But with like a coma, I think I heard a few accounts, and maybe I've already said it. Some people woke up from like doing puzzles and stuff, or they did stuff to occupy their mind till they woke up. Yeah, that just sounds terrifying. Virginia Manley, 8081. When my husband had a massive stroke and was clinging to life, some of the nurses talked amongst themselves as if he weren't in the room. They were very negative. I took them into the hall and said I wanted them to be upbeat, positive, and talk to him. As he was recovering, he said that change gave him the will to fight. Nurses, take note of this. Absolutely, yeah. And just all these stories, at least at this point, if I hear about anyone being in a coma, talk to him. Keep the will to fight. His Anadas? Oh my gosh. Isanadas. Killing that one. I was run over by a hit-and-run driver. I was in a coma for 5.5 days. All I remember was like being in some kind of other world. The air was like a tan light fog on the ground, and there were all manner of animals everywhere. No buildings or other people. It was absolutely silent, and I was just standing there, afraid. My guru said I was in limbo while waiting to either die or come back. When I woke up, nurses were standing by me. My body was trashed. When the nurses told the surgical team I was awake, the surgeon that saved my life said, "How are you still alive? We didn't expect you to regain consciousness." I had 4 operations during my coma. I am happy to be alive even though I am crippled. Bless this person, holy moly. Yeah, speaking of Limbo, I checked out the audiobook to Dante's Divine Comedy, and Limbo's in there. Limbo's really interesting. I wish I remembered more of it so I could comment, but yeah, Limbo seemed like a trip. I think I'm off the comas now. I don't know. 47 Jonesy. I used to live in NorCal. Was camping at Panther Beach when around 2 or 3 a.m. a whole procession line of tall figures in mostly black, some red, robes came out with torches, formed a circle where they faced each other and looked like they were chanting at a level too low for us to hear for about 20 minutes. Aside from the torches they had, the moon was very bright that night. They walked elegantly, but they did walk. We were only like 100 to 150 feet away, so we all saw them very clearly. It was so odd, and we thought we were witnessing a cult ritual, so we just stayed still and quiet. Then when they were done, they filed out like they had arrived. Never heard of the Dark Watchers until literally today, but yes, they are real and frequent the coastlines of Northern California. At least around 18 years ago they did. Don't think that was Dark Watchers, homie. Yeah, you probably ran into some like cult stuff, dude. Oh man. Jonesy, gotta be careful, dude. I'm glad you witnessed it. 47 Jonesy. Oh, Jonesy, getting into trouble. Rachel Douglas. My sisters and I talked to a ghost named Jim before. Jim was killed by cancer. He had 3 daughters too. A few months from talking with Jim, our dad went on a drunken rant. Us girls were scared and ran to my twin and I's room. We were far from the door. When Dad got into the doorway, it slammed shut. Our dad managed to bust open the door, but things from around the room flew at him. My sisters and I think that this was Jim. He was trying to protect us because he had 3 daughters that were also abused by their mom. Who agrees with this? Like the whole comment, or just like, do you think it was Jim because of the fact that his daughters were abused? That's a good question. Sorry, you threw me off with the who agrees with this. I like the comment though. That's spooky. Well, it's gotta be Jim. What else? I mean, if Jim's spouse was abusive, maybe it was her just like, throwing stuff around. And it's just really good timing for you guys. Sorry about that drunken dad rant. Some people need to lay off the booze. Alright. Jay Fisher, 205. I was a Marine stationed at Camp Lejeune and had an experience in the barracks with an Ouija board. This is my experience. Myself and a group of guys were talking about the paranormal and decided to buy an Ouija board. To cut this part short, most guys weren't taking it seriously and were clearly moving the planchette themselves, but myself, along with one other guy, wanted to know if it truly worked or not. So we took the board to his room and swore to each other we wouldn't move the planchette ourselves. Whether it worked or not, at least we would know the truth. We did the starting ritual and waited. Nothing for a while. Is anybody here with us? Then it started to move, but very slowly, painfully slowly, until it reached yes. We asked a few different questions, but no response. So we said, if you're still here, tell us your name. Very slowly, it spelled Wicksid. Wicked, we thought. But it spelled wrong. Later we found out on a new board it needs to build power and will spell words wrong, which convinces me the other guy wasn't moving it. No way he could have known that, and I obviously didn't. So we then ask, can you tell us something about one of us, so we know you're really here with us? It moved to the letter U. But that was it. Okay, a few more questions, but no more responses, so we closed the board. We're confused on what it meant by the letter U. My buddy gets up, goes to the bathroom. When he comes out and says, "Dude, look at my shirt." He was wearing an Indianapolis Colts shirt with the horseshoe on it. Haven't touched an Ouija board since. I mean, he still could have did the U, your buddy, you know. That would have been a little clever. Truth Toad. When I was 12, we recorded a seance and didn't notice anything strange until we played back the tape. It had some loud sounds that almost sounded like the tape had been edited. It just had a static background noise during the loud noises that just ended abruptly. It was just after the medium, one of my friends, asked the spirit to make a sign so we could see them. We were trying to contact Harry Houdini. We played the tape for people to hear for years. Circa 78, Flint, Michigan. Hey, that's alright. I wonder where you recorded it on, because there's a lot of stuff now. You can convert it and then upload it. Put it on a channel. The Gareth Dav. Ghosts are real. I've had one in my flat. An old lady died in my flat before I moved here, and we have an agreement that I have the daytime while she has the nighttime. If I go to bed later than usual, she'd start banging as we had an agreement. This was fine for 2 years. Then I opened my front door one night to go outside, and I felt something come inside my flat. I felt like someone was inside with me. That night when I was asleep in bed, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I felt like something was hovering above me. So I reached out my hand and touched it. Scared the hell out of me. When I frantically turned the light on, there was nothing to be seen. I get up and demanded any spirits leave my flat immediately, and ever since that, I had no spirits here at all. They love fear and weakness. Be strong and brave, and they won't even try to frighten you. See, I don't think it was the old lady. That's gotta be something else. If 2 years, I mean, unless you did something to tick her off, like, well, she lived in that flat before you. I don't know. Maybe you found something that was hers in the previous thing, or you upset her. But, oh man, I remember this one. Oh, Elijah Nave, I think. Elijah Ellen Nave. This is unlike any of the other stories I've read here, and I doubt anyone will ever see this, but I'm going to put it here anyway for posterity. That's a great opening right there. I like that. I didn't grow up in the mountains per se, but both sides are from, so I spent a major portion of every summer there. Both sides are from. Okay. There's an old lumber town in West Virginia where the mill burnt down, and they've since converted it to a state park, and they rent the houses out. They used to have a reunion every summer for people who used to live there and their families, so we'd go every summer. It's a quaint little town in the middle of literal nowhere, with big old white houses, white picket fences, beautiful hardwood oak floors, and boardwalks that connect all the houses. When there is no reunion going on, or people staying there in the winter to ski, it's a complete ghost town. Maybe 10 permanent residents in the whole town. Each year, fewer and fewer people came, and the size of their groups grew smaller to boot. Some of the people passed, or weren't healthy enough to make the trip. Their kids and grandkids lost interest in the tradition. Slowly, it began to fade out. Knowing it might be our last time together, no more cakewalks, no more dinner in the town church with everyone, no more dances at the firehouse. We decided to stay a few extra days after the event ended one year. There was no one. I mean no one. We had the entire town to ourselves. One night, I had stayed up especially late, and everyone else had turned in. This was the first year they had put TVs in the houses. A very large radio observatory is nearby, so there were no radio stations, no cell towers, no internet, so being able to watch TV was kind of a big deal. While I was watching TV, I thought I heard someone on the back porch. This didn't strike me as particularly alarming, because it connects to a boardwalk that someone could be walking on, I had supposed. This would have been weird though, for sure. It was almost 2 in the morning. I got up to look out the back window and didn't see anything. Some time passed and I heard it again. This time it sounded as if they had knocked on the back door or were jiggling the handle. I got up again and walked over and looked out back. Looked out the windows, nothing. I chalked it up to wind or wildlife. I told myself it wouldn't be unreasonable for a raccoon or possum or something to be trying to get into the trash. Maybe a drunk had mistook our house for theirs, as they all look pretty much exactly the same, and there might be a family or two still staying somewhere in the town. I decided to head to bed. I was staying in the first room at the top of the stairs, sharing a room with my mother and 2 separate twin beds. I'd have been about 14 or so. My grandparents stayed in the next room, and my mother's friend in a room adjacent to them, and the bathroom was the last room. As I laid there in bed, I began to feel anxious, unsettled. It was as if there was a sudden pressure drop, followed by a deafening silence. Suddenly, I heard footsteps in the downstairs kitchen. Slow, heavy footsteps, intensely focusing on the origin of the noise, so as to make absolutely sure I was hearing someone downstairs and not someone upstairs getting up to use the bathroom. I stared at the crack under the door. There was a nightlight on in the hallway. I tried to wake my mother, a notoriously light sleeper, her entire life by reaching over and shaking her and whispering, "Mom, wake up. Someone is in the house. Mom, get up. Get the F up. Someone is downstairs." She mumbled something incoherent. No, it sounded like, and just immediately went straight back into a deep sleep. This is getting exciting. Kind of feels like a movie so far. To my horror, I heard the distinct sound of it taking a step onto the steps. They sounded different. They sort of squeaked, then another, and another. It was coming upstairs. My eyes were wide open, as far as they'd go, and I just stared in utter disbelief at the light coming from under the crack of the door. Frozen. I knew I was alone. My mother wasn't actually there. Nobody else sleeping in the house was actually there. It was as if I had been transported into another realm, where it was just me and whatever was walking up the steps. I was paralyzed. I couldn't scream. I couldn't blink. Just pure raw terror. I felt a tear roll down my right cheek, realized I had stopped breathing at some point, and saw a shadow move 3/4 across the bottom of the door from left to right and stop, followed by the other 1/4 of the way. The light coming from under the door shined onto the floor and tapered outwards, forming a shape kind of like a trapezoid. The 2 shadows also tapered outward the farther they got from the door. Sitting between 3 beams of light, something was standing on the other side of that door. I woke up the next day and was strikingly calm. I didn't even mention it to anyone. It was like it never happened. It was like I was in a trance. The most horrifying thing that had ever occurred in my life was my most recent memory. And there was a zero sense of urgency to leave. I didn't feel compelled to warn anyone else, nothing. I knew it was real. I didn't second guess that it was a dream for a second, but I just didn't care. My grandparents were mad because someone had left the bathroom sink running on full and blamed me. It was only some time later that I remembered all this, and I asked my mother if she had any recollection. She said she did remember me frantically trying to get her up and feeling a sense of dread, but she could not wake up. She said it was like the most tired she had ever been in her life, and she didn't even care about whatever was going on because it felt so good to just go back to sleep. I cannot stress enough how strange this is. As all of my youth, I was rarely allowed to have sleepovers because my friend and I whispering would wake her up 2 rooms down. Apparently something happened to her friend that absolutely terrified her that same night, and she was so freaked out by it. They didn't even talk anymore, so I don't have any way to corroborate anything with her. Honestly, I don't want to know. All doors and windows were locked, and I have never sleepwalked before or since. To this day, 22 years later, whenever I think about it, my eyes immediately begin to water. Tears run down both cheeks. My entire body covers in goosebumps. I feel a lump in my throat and a sinking feeling in my chest. I begin to shake and shiver and feel a coldness in my bones that I can't even begin to describe. I feel a shame or almost a guilt when I think about it. There is a detachment from reality from time. It's not uncommon for me to snap out of it. And what seemed like minutes were actually hours. I just can't shake the feeling that something horrible happened to me in those mountains that I don't understand. I can't talk about it. I can't tell anyone, or they would just think I was nuts. I just try not to think about it. But like clockwork, I seem to see something that triggers it about once a year like this video. What the hell did we just read? Hot damn. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Oh my gosh. Then shit, the mom's friend didn't talk to her again. I don't like the deafening silence. I don't know. I was so bad wanting to like relate it to like a cryptozoological entity or what have you, but I think that was Appalachian. The Appalachian Mountains. Well, someone read it. Someone read your comment, man. Elijah. So, thank you for the nightmares. That's cool, I guess. And I'm sorry for your nightmares. See, if I could go through all these, because there's some good comments, I might make a compilation. This would be one I'd like to like interview, sit down with them. I mean, it's not good to like bring up all this traumatic stuff. This goes for like soldiers and all that stuff. That's included people. You probably shouldn't be all like, hey, what's the worst thing you've seen? And then like they start getting flooded with PTSD. But yeah, some of these I'd be willing to talk. Man, that would be cool as heck to reach out and like do interviews with some of these. Add them to the local lore channel. That'd be cool as heck. Alright, enough about that. Thank you so much for joining me. Tales from the comments. I was your host, Cockles. It was an absolute pleasure. Maybe I entertained you. If so, you're welcome. We got more tales from the comments you could check out. Have a spooky night. That ain't like a threat or anything, just like, ooh, you know what I mean, yeah. That's a wrap.